If you've been working from quarantine for the past 8 weeks and have been used to working in an office, you may be wondering why you're not getting as much work done at home. I sure have been wondering, and I've watched every single video on YouTube about dopamine, about effective habits, keystone habits. I've clicked every Medium article about 7 effective tips for working from home, and they haven't helped. What has helped me though is thinking about my own psychology, my own dopamine triggers, and building a mental model that's easily visualizable, that I can relate to at any time in the day to help keep me on track, and I'm going to share that with you right now. So here's a very simple model to represent my day with 2 dimensions, time and space. So ideally, when I went into an office, I would wake up in the beginning of my day, here's my bed, then I would go maybe have a cup of coffee in my living room, this is my living room, then I'd be in my office, I'd work, go home, make dinner, and then go to bed. Now here's a work from home day. Wake up, maybe I wake up a little bit later, I go to my living room, make myself coffee, then I go to my desk, I work, have lunch, then I go back and work a little bit more, then I take a break, then I work a little bit more and take a break, then I get lazy and go to sleep. Okay, that's a work from home day. And then after doing that for 8 weeks, here's a really bad work from home day. I wake up really late, go to my couch, maybe I go to my desk for like a minute, check my email, go back, watch some more YouTube, go to my bedroom, take a nap, get up, and go back to bed. The thing to note here, back when I used to work in an office, is I had this little barrier called a commute. So if you represent that here with this line, you can see on the green line, I would go into the office and it'd be very hard to go back to my couch because I'd have to go all the way back home, which is a long walk for me. So when I work in an office, it's very easy to stay in this spot working at your desk. So when we remove this boundary between the office and your couch, it's a lot easier to do a little work, then take a break, and then have that break kind of devolve into a YouTube or Netflix binging session, and you get nothing done for the day, except for the bare minimum that you need to do to keep your job or keep your customers happy. So is that it? Do you just have to follow that green line I showed you? It's not that simple. So as humans, we are only in control of certain things. There are other forces at play that drive our behavior and decisions that we can't really see. But if we go back to our model, we can draw in little forces in the diagram to make it more clear. Let me show you what I mean. So back in this model, I chose time as one of the dimensions so I could make a point. You see, there's nothing you can do to stop the passage of time. So wherever you are on this y-axis in terms of space, time will just keep proceeding. So because, as far as I know, we can't control the passage of time, it may not be the best thing to put in our diagram. It was merely there to show you as a demonstration of these invisible forces at work that continually change our state, whether or not we can control them. So what I'm interested in modeling are the things that prevent me from being productive. Usually these tend to be dopamine triggering activities, things that give me pleasure without putting a lot of work into it. Things like sugar or watching YouTube videos or drinking a beer. These are addictive activities where the more you do it, the more you want to do it more. And we can go back to this diagram and understand a little bit more about the relationship between kind of the things we can control, like where we are, and the things that are out of our control that cause problems, like dopamine triggering activities. So let's revisit our working from home day on a new diagram, where now the x-axis is going to represent number of YouTube videos watched. Or this could be number of cookies you've had, or number of beers you've had. Whatever the addictive activity is that releases dopamine, you can put it on the x-axis. And think about these forces over here, all these arrows. Notice how the arrows get darker based on the more videos I've watched. The more you do an addictive activity, the more you want to do it more. The more you want to have another beer once you've had 1 beer than when you've had 0 beers. If you don't believe me, go to any bar once they're open again. So here I start my day from my bedroom. I wake up, and there's something about my bedroom. I have no desire to watch YouTube videos, regardless of how many videos I've watched. That's just me. My bedroom is where I go to sleep. But once I get to my living room, things start to change. That's where my trigger is, where I say, oh, I can just watch 1 video, or I can just have 1 cookie, or just have 1 beer. It won't be a big issue. But little do I know that the more you do it, the more you want to do it more. So if you have enough self-control, then you can make it to your desk, in my case here, do your work, then maybe go back for lunch and go back to your desk and do your thing. That's if you have self-control. But if you give in a little bit, maybe you watch 1 or 2 videos, you start going down here. You're at your couch and then you've watched a few videos. Now the arrows get darker. You want to do it more. But if you can exert even more self-control, you can push yourself back to your desk and you end up over here. So now I'm back at my desk working, but you can see there's now the arrows pushing me down. Not to watch a video, but these arrows are pushing me back to my sofa, because my brain knows that the sofa is associated with watching YouTube videos. So it just says, why don't you go take a break? Just sit down, give yourself a break from the desk. It'll be good for your posture. So you go back down, and then once you've changed your state, your space, the arrows shift and you want to watch a video. So now you watch another video, and now it becomes harder and harder to get out of this loop. You try to go back to your desk to do some work, but the arrows say, oh no, go back to the couch. You go here, and then once you start getting in this deep end of this addictive cycle, it becomes harder and harder. If you try to go back to your desk, now you'll notice I tilted my arrows. So they're not only telling me to go back to my sofa, but they're also telling me to watch another video. Maybe I do it from my desk or whatever. And you can see once you're over here, then everything is just trying to release more dopamine once you're this deep into the addictive cycle. And you end up wasting your day. So to get around wasting my day, I often think to this model based on where I am in the moment. And I'll change the X and Y axis dynamically based on what I'm trying to do. What I've found is that procrastination is actually a pretty good dopamine releasing activity. If I procrastinate one thing, I'm more likely to procrastinate another thing, even if they're totally unrelated. Like if I put off doing the dishes, for some reason, I get some dopamine hit where it's like, okay, now I'm good, now I can procrastinate getting back to a customer or doing something else. So it helps me think about where my headspace is at and how my environment influences my activity. You can also apply this framework to your thoughts if you completely isolate your environment and just think about what are these random thoughts that you're thinking about, and where are you on this diagram? If I think bad thoughts, am I just going to start thinking even worse thoughts? Same with good thoughts. Same with future thoughts versus past thoughts. You can apply this to a lot of different situations in your life. And what's key is to consider those arrows, and that if you have 1 beer, you're likely to have 10 beers based on your history and based on your own personal factors and based on your location. Like if you notice in my bedroom, that was my safe space in this example, and it's going to depend person to person. So if you can model your own behavior and understand yourself in terms of these dimensions which represent state, as well as those little arrows which represent your personal history with those states and what you're likely to do, it can save you from just getting yourself into a known addictive cycle. Another thing to note is I found that sometimes, you just need to do certain things. And if you do need to, indulge, for lack of a better word, do it towards the end of the day when your willpower degrades. So as you saw in the diagram, it's easier to exit the addictive feedback loop when you have willpower, because you can fight those arrows with more strength. But towards the end of the day, usually what I found when my willpower goes, then I'm like, okay, well, I've got enough work done, may as well just indulge a little bit, rest. So that's the time to do it. If you need to enter those addictive feedback cycles, do it towards the end of the day before you go to bed. I hope this has helped you. This is helping me, and it's also really easy to just kind of switch to and visualize whenever I have a tempting thought or I want to go have a sugar cookie. I just think about, all right, pause, XY axis, where am I and what is this going to lead to? So let me know in the comments if you think this is helping you, if you want to try it, or if you found other things that help. But I haven't seen anyone talk about this particular model before, so I figured I'd share it. Let me know, and good luck working from home, and stay data-driven.